The massive control room of NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station fell silent as the alert sounded. Red lights flashed across the main screen. Director Paul White pushed through the crowd of technicians to see what had triggered the system. "What are we looking at?" he asked, squinting at the display. Anna, the lead technician, pointed to a blinking dot at the edge of the solar system. "We detected it passing Neptune's orbit an hour ago. The computer just finished its size calculations." She paused, double-checking her readings. "Sir, if these numbers are correct, this object is roughly 1/4 the size of our moon." Paul's coffee cup froze halfway to his mouth. "That's impossible, check it again." "Already did. 3 times. Anna's fingers flew across her keyboard. "It's maintaining a steady course toward the inner solar system, moving at incredible speed, but slowing, almost like it's braking." "Natural objects don't break," Paul said quietly. The room remained silent as the implications sank in. After decades of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, it seemed that something had found them instead. Within 24 hours, every major space agency on Earth confirmed the readings. The object, now officially designated Traveler, continued its approach. World leaders gathered in emergency sessions while scientists debated what it could be. One thing became clear: humanity needed to investigate up close. Captain Jack Barnes stood on the observation deck of the Pathfinder, Earth's most advanced exploration vessel. At 45, with gray streaking his dark hair, Jack had spent most of his adult life in space, but nothing in his 20 years of experience had prepared him for this mission. "Final systems check complete," Tom Wilson called from his engineering station. The stocky engineer, with his perpetual 5 o'clock shadow and steady hands, had been with Jack on 3 previous missions. "Engines at full capacity. Life support optimal," added Dr. Ben Wright, the mission's xenobiologist. Tall and lanky with thick glasses, Ben had spent his career studying theoretical alien biology. Now he might finally meet the real thing. "Medical bay stocked and ready." Jack nodded, his eyes fixed on the distant stars. "Dr. Reed, what's our ETA to intercept?" Dr. Lisa Reed looked up from her calculations. Her dark hair was pulled back in. A practical ponytail and deep lines creased her forehead as she concentrated. As the mission's astrophysicist, she'd been analyzing the Traveler non-stop since its discovery. 17 hours at current speed, she replied. "The object has come to a complete stop just beyond Mars' orbit. It's just waiting there." Major Alex Davis, the security chief, checked her weapon for the 3rd time that morning. The former Marine had been added to the crew at the last minute, a sign of how seriously Earth's governments were taking potential threats. "Let's hope it's waiting for a friendly chat." Jack turned to face his crew of 12, the best minds Earth had to offer, sent on humanity's most important mission. "I know you're all feeling the weight of this moment," he said. "We're about to make history. First contact, everything changes after today." He paused, looking each crew member in the eye. "Whatever we find out there, remember your training. We represent all of humanity now." As the Pathfinder approached the massive object, the crew fell silent. The Traveler filled their view screen, a colossal cylinder with a rough, cratered surface. Various structures protruded from its hull, some clearly artificial. "My God," whispered Tom. "It's big enough to hold an entire city. Maybe multiple cities." Lisa's instruments beeped rapidly. "I'm detecting metals we don't have on Earth. The outer shell appears to be some kind of composite material." She looked up, eyes wide. "And there are signs of internal atmosphere and gravity. This isn't just a ship, it's a habitat." "A worldship," Ben breathed. "A self-contained ecosystem for interstellar travel. We've theorized about them, but to actually see one..." Jack activated the ship-wide communications. "All hands prepare for closer approach. Tom, keep us at a safe distance. Lisa, continue scans. Ben, look for any signs of life. Alex, remain on standby." The Pathfinder moved carefully around the enormous vessel, cameras capturing every detail. Hours passed as they mapped its surface, discovering what appeared to be sealed entry ports and massive engine structures at one end. "Captain, I'm picking up energy readings," Lisa said suddenly. "Very faint, but definitely there. This thing isn't dead, it's in some kind of hibernation mode." Jack was about to respond when the communications officer interrupted. "Captain, urgent message from Earth Command." A moment later, General Roberts' grim face appeared on screen. "Barnes, we have a situation. Multiple unidentified objects have entered Earth's atmosphere. At least 7 major cities report landings of unknown craft." The bridge crew froze. "First contact is happening there too?" Jack asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Affirmative. These visitors aren't being hostile yet, but they're asking for something specific." The general's face tightened. "They're asking about the object you're investigating. They called it a Class 105 Worldship, and they say it belongs to them." Jack exchanged glances with his crew. "Sir, what are your orders? Should we return to Earth?" The general hesitated. "Negative, Barnes. We need to know what we're dealing with. Your orders are to continue investigation and, if possible, board that vessel. Whatever these visitors want with it, we need to understand its significance before making any decisions." After the transmission ended, Jack turned to find all eyes on him. "We're really going in there?" Alex asked, her hand resting on her sidearm. Jack nodded slowly. "We are. Tom, bring us alongside the largest entry port. Ben, prepare the boarding team. Lisa, keep monitoring those energy levels." He took a deep breath. If 2 different alien groups are interested in this ship, there's something important about it, and we need to find out what before making any more moves. 6 hours later, Jack led the boarding team through the airlock connecting the Pathfinder to the Worldship. Wearing sealed environmental suits, Jack moved forward with Alex, Lisa, and Ben close behind. 2 additional security officers brought up the rear. "Atmosphere readings are stabilizing," Lisa reported, checking her scanner. "Oxygen-nitrogen mix, similar to Earth but with higher oxygen content. Temperature rising to sustainable levels." The team's lights cut through the darkness, revealing an enormous entry chamber. The architecture was unlike anything human. Curved walls with intricate patterns that seemed to serve both decorative and functional purposes. "These markings could be a written language," Ben said, running his gloved hand along one wall. "Nothing like human writing systems." Alex kept her weapon ready. "Stay alert. We don't know if anything's still alive in here." They moved deeper into the ship, finding enormous open spaces that could have housed thousands. Everything was perfectly preserved, as if the occupants had simply stepped away for a moment. "It's a ghost ship." Tom's voice came through their comms from the Pathfinder. "Engines are dormant but maintained. Whatever this ship was doing, it wasn't abandoned, it was placed in standby." In what appeared to be a central control room, Lisa discovered active systems. "These displays are still functioning on minimal power," she said, studying the alien technology. I think I can access the ship's logs or navigation." As she worked, Jack received another transmission from Earth. The aliens there, calling themselves collectors, were growing impatient. They demanded immediate access to the Worldship. "Lisa, we need answers fast," Jack said. "What was this ship's destination?" Lisa looked up from the alien console, her face pale behind her helmet visor. "Captain, according to these navigation charts, this ship was coming to Earth. This wasn't a random encounter." She swallowed hard. Earth was its final programmed destination. Before Jack could respond, Ben called from across the control room. "Captain, you need to see this." The team gathered around a massive doorway that had slid open to reveal a vast chamber beyond. Inside, row after row of transparent pods lined the walls, stretching as far as their lights could penetrate. Inside each pod was a sleeping figure, clearly not human, but not matching descriptions of the collectors either. "There are thousands of them," Alex whispered, "all in some kind of suspended animation." Jack stared at the sleeping aliens, then back at the urgent messages from Earth about the collectors demanding the ship. "We just found out why they want this ship so badly," he said quietly, "and I don't think we should be in any hurry to give it to them." The United Nations General Assembly Hall had never been so crowded. Representatives from every nation sat in tense silence as Secretary General Robert Thompson addressed the room. Today marks the most significant moment in human history, he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. We are not alone in the universe, and our visitors have requested this meeting to deliver an important message. At his signal, the massive doors at the end of the hall swung open. A hush fell over the crowd. 3 tall figures entered the room, moving with a strange grace. They had silvery skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Their bodies were humanoid but thin, with long arms and legs. Their faces featured large, dark eyes adapted for low light, small flat noses and lipless mouths. They wore simple, dark uniforms with strange symbols on their chests. The tallest of the 3 stepped forward. I am Commander Vex of the Collector Fleet, he said in perfect English. His voice had an odd musical quality. We come with peaceful intentions, but also with urgency. On screens around the world, billions watched as humanity experienced its first official alien contact. We have tracked one of our vessels to your solar system, Vex continued. A Class 105 Worldship, an ancient relic of our civilization. We have come to retrieve it. The Secretary General cleared his throat. Commander Vex, we have indeed found a large vessel near Mars. Our scientists are studying it now. May I ask why this ship is so important to your people? Vex's expression remained neutral. The Worldship contains technology beyond your comprehension. It is part of our heritage, our birthright. We simply wish to reclaim what belongs to us. And if we refuse? Asked the American representative. Vex turned his large eyes toward the man. That would be unfortunate. We do not wish to cause harm, but the Worldship must be returned to us. As the meeting continued, scientists around the world studied footage of the collectors, comparing their appearance to the data sent back from the Pathfinder. One thing became clear. The beings in the hibernation pods aboard the Worldship were not collectors. They were something else, entirely. We need to wake one of them up, Jack said, looking at the sleeping aliens in the hibernation chamber. The crew had set up a small base in the Worldship's control room. After confirming the atmosphere was safe, they had removed their helmets, but kept their suits on as a precaution. Are you sure that's wise? Asked Alex. We don't know who they are or if they're dangerous. Ben studied the closest pod. The being inside had 4 arms, copper-colored skin, and a face with gentle features. Its body was covered in soft, short fur, and it appeared to be sleeping peacefully. These pods have been active for what seems like thousands of years. He said, the technology is incredible. I think I understand the basic controls, but Lisa should double-check my work. Lisa joined him, examining the symbols on the pod's control panel. These match patterns I found in the navigation system. I think, yes, this should be the release sequence. Jack took a deep breath. Do it. But just one. Alex, stand ready, just in case. Ben pressed a sequence of glowing symbols. The pod hummed to life, its cover sliding away with a soft hiss. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the alien's large eyes fluttered open. It sat up slowly, looking around in confusion, until its gaze settled on the humans. Instead of showing fear, its face formed what appeared to be a smile. Visitors, it said in a strange, melodic language that none of them understood. Then it touched its throat and adjusted something around its neck, a small device they hadn't noticed before. When it spoke again, the words were in heavily accented but understandable English. Unexpected visitors. How interesting. The alien climbed carefully out of the pod, standing slightly shorter than the average human. I am called Morrow. I am a keeper. Jack stepped forward. I'm Captain Jack Barnes of Earth. We found your ship near our planet. Morrow's eyes widened. Earth? We've reached Earth? A look of joy crossed his face, followed quickly by concern. How long have I been asleep? Has anyone else found us? Lisa answered. We detected your ship 3 days ago. And yes, others have found you. They call themselves collectors. They've landed on our planet and are demanding we give them this Worldship. The effect of her words was immediate. Morrow stumbled backward, his 4 hands grasping the edge of his pod for support. "No," he whispered. "Not the collectors. Not after all this time." He looked up, his eyes now filled with fear. "You must not give them this ship, no matter what they promise or threaten." Back on Earth, the collectors had established bases outside major cities. Their ships, sleek, silver crafts that hovered silently, had landed in Washington, Moscow, Beijing, London, and other capitals. At the White House, President James Miller met privately with Commander Vex. "Our scientists tell me the Worldship contains thousands of hibernating aliens," Miller said. "Aliens that are not collectors." Vex's face remained expressionless. "Yes, they are called keepers. They are a primitive species we once protected. The ship was stealing them away, so we pursued it." "Pursued it for how long?" Miller asked. "That is not your concern," Vex replied coldly. "What matters is that the Worldship and its occupants belong to us. We have the right to retrieve them." Miller leaned forward. "Then why not tell us that from the beginning? Why hide their existence?" "We did not wish to complicate matters." Vex stood, towering over the president. "We have been patient, but our patience has limits. We will allow your people one more day to coordinate the handover of the Worldship. After that, we will take action." As Vex left, Miller immediately called an emergency meeting. Reports were coming in from the Pathfinder with very different information about the relationship between the collectors and the being called Morrow. Aboard the Worldship, Morrow led the human crew through vast chambers, explaining as they walked. "This is one of the last Worldships," he said sadly. "Once there were hundreds. The collectors hunted most of them down." "Why?" asked Jack. "What do they want?" Morrow stopped beside a large window looking out into space, the stars beyond twinkling against the darkness. "Long ago, the collectors were created by the keepers as helpers. They were designed to be stronger, to work in harsh environments where we could not. For centuries, we lived together peacefully." His 4 hands made a complex gesture of sorrow. "Then they changed. They began to see themselves not as helpers but as slaves. They rebelled, using the strength we gave them against us. The war was terrible. Billions died." Lisa gasped. "So they're not coming to protect you?" "No," Morrow said quietly. "They're coming to finish what they started centuries ago, our extinction." "Why did your ship come to Earth specifically?" Jack asked. "Was it random?" Morrow turned to look at them, his eyes studying their faces with new interest. "No, Captain. Earth was always our destination." He touched a panel on the wall and a star map appeared, showing a direct path from a distant galaxy to Earth. "You see, Earth is special to us. Very special." He reached out, touching Jack's hand gently with one of his own. "There is something you should know about your species and mine. Something that will explain why the collectors are really here." Before he could continue, alarms blared throughout the ship. Lisa rushed to a console. "Captain, multiple ships detected leaving Earth's orbit. They're heading this way." Jack looked at Morrow, whose face had turned ashen. "The collectors are coming for the Worldship," the alien whispered, "and they will destroy anyone who stands in their way." "We need to hide," Morrow said, his 4 arms moving in frantic gestures. "The collectors must not capture this Worldship." Jack looked at the alien, then at his crew. "We're not running. My people are on Earth, and they need to know what's really happening." He turned to Lisa. "How long until those ships reach us?" 3 hours at their current speed," she replied, studying the display. "Then we have 3 hours to learn everything we can." Jack faced Morrow again. "You were about to tell us why Earth is special to your people, and why the collectors are really here." Morrow hesitated, then nodded. "Follow me to the Hall of Records. What I must show you cannot simply be told." The group hurried through the vast corridors of the Worldship. As they walked, Ben asked, "How many of your people are in hibernation here?" "Approximately 10,000, Morrow replied. "All that remains of our once great civilization." "And the collectors? How many of them exist?" asked Alex, her military mind assessing the threat. Billions, Morrow said simply. They have taken our worlds and built an empire on the ruins of ours. They entered a large circular room with a domed ceiling. In the center stood a pedestal with a glowing orb. Morrow placed all 4 of his hands on it and the room darkened. Suddenly stars appeared all around them as if they were floating in space. This is the history of my people, Morrow said as images began to form in the starry display. The humans watched as the story unfolded around them. They saw beautiful cities filled with keepers, a peaceful civilization that had mastered space travel and created amazing technology. Then came the creation of the collectors, designed to help the keepers explore harsh worlds and perform difficult labor. We made them stronger, faster, and more durable than ourselves, Morrow explained as the images shifted. But we did not foresee the consequences. The scene changed to show collectors beginning to question their role, then organizing, and finally, rebelling. The images of the war that followed were terrible. Planets burning, cities in ruins, billions dying on both sides. The collectors had one advantage, Morrow continued. They could reproduce quickly while we keepers have very low birth rates. They soon outnumbered us. The display showed the last keepers building massive world ships to escape. We launched 12 world ships in different directions, Morrow said sadly. As far as I know, this may be the last one still intact. The collectors hunted down the others over the centuries. But why come to Earth specifically? Jack asked again. Morrow waved his hands and the display changed to show a small blue planet, Earth, but millions of years in the past. Long before humans evolved, before even your dinosaurs, we visited Earth, Morrow explained. We found it beautiful, but uninhabited by intelligent life. We left behind a gift. The images showed keepers releasing something into Earth's primordial oceans. Genetic material? Ben gasped, understanding dawning on his face. Morrow nodded. Modified keeper DNA, designed to evolve slowly with your planet. We seeded many worlds this way, hoping to create a genetic legacy that might one day evolve into new civilizations friendly to our own. Lisa's eyes widened. Are you saying humans evolved from keeper DNA? Not exactly, Morrow replied. Your evolution was natural, but our genetic material influenced certain aspects of your development. The capacity for complex thought, tool use, language, these developed more quickly because of our contribution. Jack stared at the images of ancient Earth. So we're related to you? Distant cousins, you might say, Morrow confirmed. Different enough to be unique, but similar enough that your DNA can interact with our technology. He gestured around them. That is why you were able to enter this ship without difficulty. It recognized you as family. Alex crossed her arms. And the collectors know this? Yes. They have always feared that one day, one of our seeded worlds would produce a species that might ally with any surviving keepers. Morrow's expression darkened. That is why they have come to Earth now, not just for this worldship, but to assess whether humans pose a threat to their dominance. We need to warn Earth, Jack said urgently. He activated his communication device to contact the Pathfinder, but only static came through. What's happening? Lisa checked her equipment. The collectors must be jamming our signals. There is another way, Morrow said. This worldship has communication systems powerful enough to penetrate their jamming technology. But to activate them fully, I need human DNA. Why human DNA? Ben asked. The worldship was programmed to recognize both keeper and human genetic patterns as authorized users, Morrow explained. A safety measure in case we were all still in hibernation when it reached Earth. Jack didn't hesitate. Take whatever you need. On Earth, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. The collectors had moved their ships into threatening positions, above major cities. Their message was clear: hand over the worldship or face the consequences. In the Pentagon Situation Room, military leaders gathered around satellite images of the alien vessels. We've lost contact with the Pathfinder, General Roberts reported grimly. and our long-range sensors show collector ships on an intercept course with the Worldship. President Miller studied the reports. What are our options? Limited, Admiral, Jones replied. Their technology is far beyond ours. A direct confrontation would be catastrophic. Sir, a communications officer interrupted. We're receiving a transmission. It's coming from the Worldship, but it's Captain Barnes. The large screen flickered to life, showing Jack, his crew, and Morrow. Mr. President, Jack said urgently, I need to report on what we've discovered. The collectors have not been honest about their intentions. As Jack explained everything they had learned, the room fell silent. When he finished, President Miller looked stunned. You're saying these collectors were created by the Keepers, rebelled, and now want to prevent us from allying with their former masters? Yes, sir, Jack confirmed. And there's more. The Keepers seeded Earth millions of years ago with genetic material that influenced human evolution. That's why they came here, and why the collectors followed. Captain, the President said after, A moment, what do you recommend? Don't give them the Worldship, sir. It contains technology that could help us defend ourselves, and 10,000 hibernating Keepers who deserve our protection. Before the President could respond, alarms blared through the Pentagon. On screens worldwide, people watched in horror as the collectors launched their first attack, a precise strike against military bases and defense systems around the globe. They're not waiting for an answer, General Roberts shouted over the chaos. On the Worldship, Jack and his team felt a massive shudder run through the vessel. They're here, Morrow said, his voice filled with dread. The collectors have begun their assault. Lisa rushed to a console. Multiple ships are attempting to dock with the Worldship. Can we activate the defenses? Jack asked Morrow. Partially, the alien replied. I've initiated basic systems using your DNA, but the full defensive capabilities require more time to activate. Jack turned to his team. Alex, take your security officers and defend the main entry points. Ben, help Morrow wake more of his people. We'll need their knowledge. Lisa, keep working on those defenses. As the crew hurried to their tasks, Jack looked out at the stars, knowing that both the Worldship and Earth were now under attack. The future of two species, human and Keeper, hung in the balance. They think they've won already, he said quietly. Let's prove them wrong. The first collector soldiers breached the Worldship's outer hull with cutting tools that sliced through the ancient metal like butter. They moved with military precision, their silver skin reflecting the emergency lights that had activated throughout the ship. Alex and her security team had set up defensive positions near the main entry point. They crouched behind makeshift barriers, weapons ready. Remember, Alex told her team, aim for the center mass. We don't know their weak points yet. The doors at the end of the corridor slid open. 3 collectors stepped through wearing sleek armor and carrying weapons unlike anything the humans had seen before. Alex didn't hesitate. She fired first. Her shot struck the lead collector in the chest. The alien staggered but didn't fall. Instead, it raised its weapon and fired back, a pulse of energy that melted part of Alex's barrier. Their armor absorbs energy, she shouted. Switch to physical ammunition. The firefight that followed was brief, but intense. The humans managed to force the collectors to retreat temporarily, but it was clear they would return with reinforcements. Alex activated her comm. Captain, we've repelled the first wave, but there will be more. Their weapons and armor are advanced. Fall back to the central chamber, Jack ordered. We need to consolidate our position. On Earth, humanity's military forces were fighting a losing battle. Collector ships targeted defense installations with surgical precision, disabling radar systems, missile silos, and airfields around the globe. Strangely, the aliens seemed to avoid civilian targets and historical sites. They destroyed only military technology, leading some analysts to a startling conclusion. In the White House Situation Room, Dr. Jane Porter, a leading anthropologist who had been called in to analyze the collectors' behavior, shared her theory. They're being selective, she explained to President Miller. They're dismantling our military capability but leaving our cultural centers untouched. This suggests they're not here just to support their space mission. What are you saying, Doctor? The President asked. I think they're planning to stay, Porter replied grimly. They're neutralizing threats but preserving Earth itself. The question is, for what purpose? The president's phone rang. It was a direct line from the science team analyzing collector technology. Sir, the lead scientist reported, we've discovered something unusual. The collectors are avoiding our oldest archaeological sites. It's as if they're afraid of them. Which sites specifically? Porter asked, her mind racing. The Pyramid, Stonehenge, Göbekli Tepe, sites in Peru and China. Basically, any mysterious ancient structure older than 10,000 years. Porter's eyes widened. Those could be locations where the Keepers left technology on Earth during their visits millions of years ago. Are you suggesting these ancient monuments might contain alien technology? The president asked incredulously. It's possible, Porter nodded. And if the collectors are avoiding them, it might mean they can't approach them for some reason. That could be a tactical advantage. Back on the Worldship, Jack, Morrow, and the rest of the crew had gathered in the central command chamber. Ben had successfully awakened 5 more Keepers, who were now helping Lisa access the ship's systems. The defensive shields are at 30% capacity, Lisa reported. But we're making progress. With the help of the Keepers, we might get them fully operational before the collectors break through. Morrow approached Jack with a tablet-like device. Captain, I've found something important in the archives. The Worldship was not just carrying my people to safety. It was also carrying our most advanced technology for safekeeping. What kind of technology? Jack asked. Biological engineering, Morrow explained. The very science that allowed us to create the collectors in the first place. If they obtain it, they could enhance their soldiers even further, making them virtually unstoppable warriors. That explains their determination, Jack said. But why attack Earth? Why not just take the Worldship and leave? One of the newly awakened Keepers, an older female named Lyra, joined the conversation. Because of what we left on your planet long ago. The collectors know that Keeper technology might still exist on Earth, dormant, but intact. What exactly did you leave behind? Jack asked. Defensive systems, Lyra replied. Hidden in certain locations, disguised as natural formations or later built upon by your ancestors who discovered them but didn't understand their purpose. The ancient sites, Lisa exclaimed. The ones humans have wondered about for centuries? Lyra nodded. Yes, they were placed as a precaution in case the engineered life on Earth ever evolved into intelligence and needed protection. A loud explosion rocked the ship, throwing everyone off balance. They're trying to breach the hibernation chamber, Alex shouted as she rushed in. They want to eliminate the sleeping Keepers. Jack made a quick decision. Lisa, keep working on the defenses. Alex, take Ben and protect the hibernation chamber. I need to get this information to Earth immediately. Dr. Reed had made a breakthrough. Using a combination of human DNA and Keeper technology, she had managed to activate more of the Worldship's systems. As she worked, she noticed something strange in the ship's genetic database. This can't be right, she muttered, running the analysis again. The results remained the same. She called Jack over immediately. Captain, I've analyzed our DNA against the Keeper genetic records, she said, her voice trembling with excitement. The match is far closer than Morrow suggested. We're not just influenced by their genetic seeding. Humans are direct descendants of the Keepers, modified to survive Earth's conditions. What are you saying? I'm saying we're not just distant cousins. We're the next evolution of Keepers adapted for Earth. That's why the Worldship was coming here. It wasn't just seeking allies. It was coming home to its children. Jack stared at the genetic comparisons on the screen. Does this mean we can fully activate the Worldship's systems? Yes, Lisa confirmed. With the right genetic key, a combination of human DNA patterns, we can access everything. The ship recognizes us as authorized users because, in a very real sense, we're family. As this revelation sank in, the ship's communication system suddenly activated. President Miller appeared on the main screen. Captain Barnes, we've discovered something. The collectors are avoiding our ancient monuments. Dr. Porter believes they might contain alien technology. She's right, sir, Jack replied. We've just Learned that those sites contain defensive systems left by the Keepers millions of years ago. And there's more. Humans aren't just influenced by Keeper genetics. According to Dr. Reed's analysis, we're their direct descendants, evolved for Earth conditions. The president looked stunned. Can these defensive systems be activated? If the Keeper's information is correct, yes, but we'd need the right activation codes, which might be stored here on the Worldship. Morrow stepped forward. The codes are indeed here, in our central database. I can transmit them to Earth, but only if we can secure our position long enough. Another explosion shook the ship violently. Sir, Jack said urgently, we're under heavy attack. The collectors know what we've discovered and they're determined to stop us. If we can activate those ancient defenses on Earth, we might have a chance. But we need time. Hold your position, Captain, the President replied firmly. Earth's military forces are regrouping. We're sending everything we have to defend that Worldship. As the communication ended, Jack turned to his crew. You heard the President. We need to hold out long enough to find those activation codes. The fate of both our species depends on it. Outside the Worldship, the darkness of space was lit up by the approaching engines of collector warships, and behind them, the smaller, but determined vessels of humanity's combined space forces, coming to make their stand. The Worldship trembled as another explosion rocked its ancient hull. Jack steadied himself against a console and looked at the faces of his crew, human and Keeper alike. They were tired but determined. The main database is through that corridor, Morrow said, pointing with one of his forearms. But the collectors have cut off our access. Lisa's fingers flew across the alien controls. I've managed to establish a secure connection with Earth. We can transmit the activation codes as soon as we find them. We need a diversion, Jack decided. Alex, can your team draw the collectors away from the database section? Alex nodded grimly. We'll give you 10 minutes. That's the best we can do. Jack turned to Morrow and Lisa. Then we have 10 minutes to find those codes and save both our worlds. As Alex led her team down one corridor, Jack, Lisa, and Morrow took another route, using the service tunnels that ran throughout the massive ship. Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed through the metal halls. On Earth, the situation was reaching a critical point. Commander Vex had called for reinforcements and dozens more collector ships had appeared in orbit. They continued their systematic destruction of Earth's military capabilities while avoiding civilian centers. In the ancient ruins of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, Dr. Porter led a team of scientists and soldiers. They had been sent there based on the theory that the site contained hidden Keeper technology. According to the partial data from the Worldship, there should be a control panel somewhere in these stones, Porter said, examining the massive T-shaped pillars that were over 11,000 years old. A young soldier pointed to strange markings on one of the pillars. Doctor, these symbols look similar to the ones in the photos from the Worldship. Porter rushed over. You're right. She carefully placed her hand on the markings. Nothing happened. The activation is genetic, she remembered. We need the right DNA sequence and the activation codes from the Worldship. Her radio crackled. This is Washington. Similar sites are being examined worldwide. We're standing by for the codes. How much time do we have? Porter looked up at the sky, where collector ships were visible even in daylight. Not much. Minutes, maybe. In the Worldship's central database, Jack watched as Morrow and Lisa worked frantically to locate the activation codes. The system recognizes your DNA, Morrow told Jack, but we need a specific command sequence to access the highest security protocols. Lisa's eyes lit up. What about combining our DNA? If humans are evolved keepers, maybe a genetic key from both current species would work. Morrow considered this. It's possible. The ship was programmed to recognize both patterns. They placed their hands on the scanner together, human and keeper. The screen before them flashed, then displayed a complex series of symbols. The activation, codes, Morrow breathed, and something more. The entire ship suddenly hummed with new energy. Lights that had been dormant for centuries began to glow throughout the corridors. What's happening? Jack asked. The Worldship is fully awakening, Morrow explained, his voice filled with awe. It recognizes the combined genetic signature as a completion of its mission. Earth and Keeper, parent and child, reunited after millions of years. Through the viewing port, they could see the exterior of the ship beginning to transform. Massive panels shifted, revealing defensive arrays and communication systems that had been hidden beneath the outer hull. Lisa quickly connected to Earth's communication network. "I'm transmitting the activation codes now." Around the world, at sites that had puzzled archaeologists for generations, something extraordinary began to happen. At Göbekli Tepe, the stone pillars started to glow with an inner light. In Egypt, the pyramid's surfaces rippled as if they were liquid. At Stonehenge, the ancient stones hummed with energy. Dr. Porter watched in amazement as the ground beneath her feet shifted, revealing a control panel made of a material unlike anything on Earth. As the activation codes streamed in from the Worldship, the panel came to life. "It's working," she reported excitedly. "The Keeper technology is responding." Similar reports came in from sites around the globe. The myths of ancient advanced civilizations had been based on truth. The Keepers had left their technology, disguised and dormant, waiting for their children to reclaim it. Commander Vex received the reports with growing alarm. "Impossible," he hissed, watching as Earth's ancient monuments transformed into Keeper defense systems. After all this time, he turned to his officers on the command ship. "Concentrate all firepower on the Worldship. We must destroy it before they complete the activation sequence." The Collector fleet redirected its attacks, all weapons targeting the Worldship. But they were too late. The ship's newly revealed defensive systems were already active, creating a shield that absorbed their attacks. Jack felt the Worldship shudder as it repelled the Collector assault. "The shields are holding," he reported. "But we need to do more than just defend. We need to drive them back." Morrow's hands moved across the controls. "With the ship fully activated, we can do more than that. We can awaken all the sleeping Keepers. And more importantly, we can activate the defensive network on Earth." On the main screen, they watched as ancient structures around Earth transformed, revealing their true nature as parts of a planetary defense system. Energy fields spread outward, from these points connecting and strengthening each other. "It's beautiful," Lisa whispered as the network took shape. The Collectors found their weapons suddenly ineffective against both Earth and the Worldship. Their communications began to fail as the Keeper defense network disrupted their signals. In the White House Situation Room, President Miller received reports from military commands worldwide. "The alien technology is working," a general reported with barely contained excitement. "The Collectors are losing their advantage." Earth's military forces, now coordinated with the ancient defense systems, launched a counterattack. Fighter jets equipped with hastily adapted Keeper technology engaged the Collector ships in Earth's atmosphere. Commander Vex, seeing the tide turning, made one final, desperate attempt. He led his elite forces in a direct assault on the Worldship, determined to capture or destroy it. His ship docked forcefully with the ancient vessel, and he led his soldiers toward the central chamber. Jack, Lisa, and Morrow were preparing to join the remaining Keepers when the doors to the command center burst open. Commander Vex stood there, his silver skin now marked with battle damage, his eyes cold with hatred. "You have ruined everything," he snarled, weapon raised. "Centuries of work undone because of you." "It's over, Vex," Jack said calmly. "Earth is protected now. The Keepers are awakening. There's nowhere left for you to go. Then I will have the satisfaction of eliminating the ones who caused our downfall," Vex replied, aiming his weapon at Morrow. Before he could fire, the ship itself seemed to respond. Panels in the walls opened, and beams of energy surrounded Vex and his soldiers, freezing them in place. "The Worldship has its own defenses," Morrow explained. "It was designed to protect its occupants." Vex struggled against the energy field. "This isn't the end," he warned. "There are more Collectors. We will return with a greater force." "And we'll be waiting," Jack promised. "Humanity and Keepers, together." In the days that followed, the remaining Collector forces retreated from Earth's solar system. The hibernating Keepers were gradually awakened, marveling at the world their genetic children had built. The Worldship settled into orbit around Earth, a bridge between humanity's past and future. Scientists from both species began working together, combining their knowledge and technology. In a special ceremony at the United Nations, Morrow and the Keeper Elders officially recognized humanity as their descendants and allies. Long ago, we left our genetic legacy on this beautiful planet, Morrow told the assembled world leaders. We hoped that one day life would evolve that carried our essence. What we did not expect was that you would surpass us in many ways. Jack, standing beside President Miller, felt a sense of pride as he watched humans and keepers shaking hands. In some cases, multiple hands. What happens now? President Miller asked quietly. We prepare, Jack replied. Vex was right about one thing. The collectors will return eventually, but next time we'll face them together. As the ceremony concluded, Jack gazed up at the night sky where the Worldship was visible as a new, artificial moon. It was no longer just a vessel carrying the past, but a symbol of humanity's new place in the universe. Earth was no longer alone. And for the first time in centuries, neither were the keepers. Two branches of the same family tree, reunited at last, ready to face whatever came next among the stars.